Hi, this is Aaron Cox, and this is my Module 8 presentation video for EDL 851, and I'm going to be talking about legal aspects of teacher evaluation. First of all, looking at the articles that we had to summarize, Article 1 was teacher evaluation heads to the courts, and this article was basically lawsuit examples that have been fired by teacher unions challenging states on teacher evaluation methods. The states that were covered, there was 7 of them. You can see the list right there. Some of the important points to consider was most of the lawsuits have to do with teacher rating formulas, and so because of that, the rating placed on teachers. So, for example, some of the lawsuits dealt with teacher ratings that were tied to teacher pay, or also teacher ratings that were tied to standardized testing. All of the completed lawsuits were in favor of the state, which I found interesting. And the case that I found the most interesting was Louisiana Federation of Teachers versus Louisiana. And this lawsuit was based on the constitutionality of Louisiana's law that tied teacher evaluations to pay and tenure. A state judge first ruled in favor of Louisiana, but then he reversed the decision after a review. But then the state Supreme Court reversed that ruling and upheld the state law. So currently, the state law is still in place in Louisiana. Article 2 was teacher evaluation and issue overview. So, first of all, what is a teacher evaluation? The article said that it's a formal process for rating teacher performance and effectiveness. And then, why are teacher evaluations an important issue? Number one is data analysis has shown that teacher effectiveness can impact student learning. Also, traditional evals were considered ineffective. It promotes opportunity for more teacher development. And then the federal government has used grants to motivate states to develop and implement new evaluation systems. And also, some philanthropies have also used funding to help school districts implement new teacher evaluation methods as well. So obviously it shows outside groups trying to influence schools to change teacher evaluations. It's not just coming from within the schools themselves. Now, some impacts of teacher evaluation reform that I pulled from the article is more states have put an emphasis on revising teacher evaluation laws. Many states are requiring annual teacher evaluations and an emphasis on using student achievement data, which all of this has led to an increase in litigation. And the impact of new evaluation systems on teacher development is still unclear. There is some research that the article showed that shows that one study where teachers that were marked ineffective or were marked lower did improve the next year, but there isn't any widespread studies or large-scale studies that show either way. Teacher evaluation will also remain a major topic in K-12 education, which is one reason why this class is a part of building leadership. It's an important topic that we as future administrators need to be aware of and understand. All right, going on to Article 3. This was teacher evaluation, a resource guide for NEA leaders and staff. I pulled together 6 key principles from the article. There was a lot of information, but I felt like the 6 keys were really the main points of the article. First of all, you need to have safe and open collaboration. Secondly, evaluation methods need to have multiple ratings and connected to standards. You need to have integrated evaluation systems that are connected with multiple aspects of teaching. So it can just be an evaluation system that's based on teachers in classroom skills and behavior. It needs to also be tied into professional development and growth, professionalism. So as many aspects of teaching as possible. This also leads into number 4, making an evaluation be validated. And obviously that means the results need to be able to be measurable and then also be reliable. Number 5, teacher involvement needs to be had in creating and improving the process. So it's very important that that's in place. And then also teacher union involvement needs to happen in creating an implementation of the process. And that would also help to prevent litigation and things from happening that are seen as going against teachers' rights. Also put together some guiding questions for implementation, and the article provided some. So what I did is basically streamline those into what I considered 5 major guiding questions that were brought up by the article. So first of all, what standards for professional practice will provide a basis for the evaluation tools? That's something that an administrator or the school district administration needs to take into account when putting in a teacher evaluation process. Also, what staff will be measured and how will they be measured? What that means is, will all staff, teachers from all different contents, are they going to be measured using the same piece of evidence? And then what will that process look like? Also, are the evaluation tools practical? So this would include everything from resources to time to funds available. And then also, how will the evaluation system work? So specifically, what are the steps in the process that the evaluatees and evaluators go through? And then what is the district implementation plan? So how will the plan be put into place? And what does that look like moving forward? All right, Article 4, implementation of teacher evaluation methods. Why is implementation of effective teacher evaluation methods important? And this seems obvious, but I think it's very important to know is that there is many studies out there, and I've learned in other classes as well, that teaching is important to student learning. So teacher evaluations need to focus on teaching and learning. Some essential principles were creating linked and integrated systems. So this kind of relates to what I talked about with the last article, when not just focusing on teaching in the classroom, but really trying to focus on all aspects of teaching and also using a variety of evaluation tools to do that. And then that also goes into the validation of the evaluation measures. And obviously that means it will also establish credibility with the teacher evaluation methods as well. An important point, most evaluation methods rely on an evaluator. So training and continued development of an evaluator is important. And I thought that was an important point that the article made. All right, now looking at the teacher evaluation process used in my school district, USD 232, we use Keep 2, just like all the school districts here in Kansas. And this is my second year teaching at this school district. And part of the process is when you are new to a school district for the first 3 years, you're going to be evaluated twice a year. So I'm very familiar with the process, having just went through it for the second time in the school district. So the process is right there on the screen. First step is orientation of the process. So just a general meeting with the evaluatees, and usually for us, it's led by our assistant principal that's in charge of curriculum instruction. And she just introduces the evaluation process to us. and some of the expectations that we're going to encounter throughout the year. The second thing would be completing a self-assessment and goal development by the individual teacher. And then from there, we have the formal observation. The next step would be informal observations throughout the year. Also, the evaluatee needs to put in artifact entries for each semester that relate to their goals. And also, data collection will happen at that time as well by the observing clinical instructor. Number 5, the evaluator determines the IPP rating, and then also student performance rating and final summative rating. So at this point, this would be in the second semester towards the end of the year. The evaluator is going to use the rubric in their observations to determine the ratings. And then the last step would be the final conference between the evaluator and the evaluatee. And in my case, I was evaluated by the assistant principal. And so at the end of the last 2 years, she sat down with me and went through the ratings that she's given me and why. And I thought both meetings have went really well. It gives me a chance to get valuable feedback and also see how I've been evaluated. Now, going into teacher recourse for inaccurate evaluations, I just put steps that a teacher would want to take if they felt like they were evaluated inaccurately. So for me, the step 1 would be to talk to the administrator that evaluated you. Sometimes issues can be solved just by doing that. So talking to them and try to get an idea of why they rated you the way that they did. And then from there, if the issue is not resolved, go to building NEA representative, which for me, we have the DTA, which is our USD 232 Teacher Association. And then if the recommendation is to take it a step further, or if you feel like that's what needs to happen, then talking to the building principal, my eyes would be helpful. And from there, then the secondary human resource director of the district, and then the superintendent if need be. Now, teacher recourse for being fired. Here in the state of Kansas, we don't have tenure. So to be fired, a school district has to have probable cause, but also they could non-renew contracts at the end of the school year. So if a teacher feels like they were fired without probable cause, or their contract was not renewed for a reason that was not a good one, then they could use the NEA representation to begin the due process. So like I said, it would be the DTA through my school, and then go through the due process procedures. All right, the case example that I looked up goes along with what I just talked about, and non-renewal of a teacher's contract. So the case summary, Kelly Wallace was a Montgomery County high school teacher and volleyball coach from 2010 through 2014. Her contract was not renewed at the end of the 2014 school year, so Wallace filed a lawsuit against the school district and Superintendent Josh Powell. She alleged that her contract was not renewed because of retaliation against her for a Title IX complaint that she filed against the school district over equal use of the weight room. So in conclusion, I'm getting short on time. I don't want to get cut off, but Wallace and the school district eventually reached a $500,000 wrongful termination settlement. And then in reflection, there's my 4 points that I feel are important as a future administrator on the steps that I would follow to make sure that me or my school district had any legal issues with the evaluation process. Hope you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you.